Welcome to your monthly horoscopes for your sign. I want to give a big thanks to all the people who are supporting the Patreon. This is honestly sponsored and funded by you. I'm so grateful and appreciative. And I recommend watching and listening for your rising sign first. That will be the most accurate. Horoscope means observing of the hour. So you want to make sure that you have the most accurate read and then your sun sign next. Now, this is an overall arching horoscope for your rising sign. Remember to take into consideration your personal planets, your time lord, the different timing techniques that there are in astrology. So leave what does not resonate and take what does resonate. I'm also teaching an astrology one-on-one course class this fall, slated to be September 1st, 2025. There is a form down below just to get an idea of where everyone's at. It's only 5 questions if you're interested in learning how to read your own chart, because I'm all about teaching you how to fish. So anyway, thank you again so much, and let's go to your sign. Libra suns and Libra risings, how are y'all doing? So, you have just come off eclipses going through your first and seventh houses. You had the South Node going through your first house, and you went through a lot of changes. You might have had changes in your relationships, in your physical body, in how you show up. You might have had a massive change in your career, but let's talk about it. Venus, your chart ruler, is going to be in Cancer until the end of the month, until the end of August. So the focus will be on your career, what you're known for, and really like making yourself be seen and heard. It is co-present with Jupiter, which two benefics in the top of your chart is very auspicious. So the exact conjunction on August 12th between Jupiter and Venus is like probably the best transit for you specifically of 2025. And what I've been saying since the beginning of this year is you can't take these things lightly, because 2025 to 2026, individually and collectively, everything is shifting and changing. It's very challenging years, because a lot of us, unless we have a grounded spiritual practice, a grounding, which I found through astrology, if you're kind of like reacting to the times, you're going to find 2025 and 2026 very triggering and unnerving. But if you have a practice, if you are grounded and embodied, these are changes that you can welcome into your life. So, all of that to say is you are going through a lot of angular house activity. So, if you have your rising sign in and around like 0 to, let's say, 5 degrees, you are having an opposition to Saturn and Neptune in your seventh whole sign house of the other. So back when the eclipses were happening, right, you really had to understand the archetype of Aries. As a Libra rising, you might be more inclined to relationships. You might be more inclined to people pleasing. You might be more sensitive to others, right? Aries is like the opposite of that. It is literally your sister sign. Aries is the self. Aries is having agency and knowing thyself, right? It is a cardinal fire sign. It is ruled by Mars, which is about separation. Venus, which rules Libra, is about harmony. It's literally like two different ways of energy. Venus is about attraction and bonds and relationships. So now that the eclipses have moved to Pisces and Virgo in your sixth and 12th houses, which are cadent houses, now you're dealing with Saturn, which rules your fourth and fifth. So, like a lot of family stuff might be coming up. Um, I mean, you have Venus and Jupiter moving through your 10th house, which is Cancer, and the 10th house in ancient astrology rules the mother, and Neptune there. So, partnerships, your one on one relationships, you might be like releasing relationships that are not in alignment with your values anymore and kind of reimagining what commitment and long term relationships look like. Um, Now, you might have been in a long term relationship, and all of a sudden you're like, wait, I want to be single. You might have been single, and now you're like, I want to be committed to somebody in a very traditional sense of marriage. You might be interested in polyamory or all the various ways you can be in a relationship. Um, but yes, these are all topics that would have come up since the eclipses, and even more so with Saturn and Neptune here. So, like I mentioned, Venus moving into your 11th house at the end of the month, more towards August 25th, the focus goes from your 10th to the 11th. Now, I really like this energy for you because Leo is your 11th house. Leo is the house of your aspirations, goals, dreams. It's the house of friendships, community. It's in a sextile to you. So this Leo energy is ultimately supportive. This is a great time to, if you have always wanted to be in a group or join a community or do some community organizing, if you've always wanted to start your social media account or be more visible, this is the month. Because you want to take advantage of when the sun is in its domicile too, in the sign of Leo, in a house like this that is in a positive aspect to you. Now, the vibe will definitely change when the sun moves into Virgo, which is your 12th house. Now, August is always going to be an interesting dynamic for Libra risings because you go from like this dynamic, fiery sun in its domicile energy in the 11th, which is like you're probably out meeting friends, to then you're going to Virgo 12th house energy, which is more about rest and solitude and going within, intentional solitude to like gather back your energy. Because when it comes to Libra season in September, middle of September, this is your moment to shine again. This is your moment to put yourself out there. So let's go to the major transits happening on August 6th. Mars ingresses into Libra. So this is your first house. So when Mars enters your first house, it might embolden you to start exercising, start taking action, start improving in some way your physical body. Now, the 7th house ruler is in your first house. So like you might even have other people kind of coming into your life, the focus of your one-on-one partnership, your one-on-one relationships might actually start to irritate you a little bit. Or the focus might be more on them versus like you focusing on yourself. Now, Mars is in its detriment in the sign of Libra because Mars is in the opposite sign, right? Because Mars is in its domicile in the signs of Aries and Scorpio. So I think of planets in their detriment to be like immigrants. They don't have all of their resources. They don't know the language. They're not from their home country, but they figure it out because they are smart and scrappy. So Mars in Libra people are really great at negotiations. They're really good at, what is that word? They're very charismatic. They know how to take action with, buying power from other people. So whether you like them or not, AOC and Bill Clinton both have Mars in Libra. I have Mars in Libra. And I have to say that it is a great placement for building relationships and being very aware of how relationships are the thing that will enhance your life, because you need relationships, you need people in order to support what it is that you have going on. And so I feel like Libra risings are like that anyway. I feel like um, that's what's so annoying for an Aries like me. I have a stellium of planets in Libra, which is why I have this like um opposition in my chart. But I think Libra risings are really good at taking um other people into consideration when they make decisions. But I think the shadow side of Libra is being indecisive or people pleasing. Hopefully, you were able to release some of those shadow aspects of Libra during those eclipses in 2023 and 2024. I digress. So, I would say the most challenging aspect of August and maybe 2025 is Mars in Libra opposite Saturn in Aries, Saturn retrograde in Aries at 1 degree. So this will impact you the most, like I mentioned, if you have your Libra rising in and around 0 to 5 degrees. But regardless, these are in your first and seventh house axes. This could be a tense day of conflict. You might have some authority figure or some parental figure kind of like challenging you. Okay. But again, Saturn being in your seventh house since what was it, like May, you would have had to really understand this energy moving through your seventh house already. And Saturn is answering to that Mars in Libra because Saturn is in a Mars ruled sign. So there is some reception there, so that it is a little more supportive, but they're both not in the signs that they like to be in. Mars is in its detriment, Saturn is in its fall. So there could be a little bit of a conflict this day. This might be a day that you might have to stand up for yourself. This might be a day that you might have an argument with somebody, your partner, perhaps, if you are in a one-on-one partnership, like a marriage. Um, the Saturn rules your fifth house of children. This could be an argument with your child, or just like, you're having a tough time with your child. And Saturn was your fourth house of home and family. So you might just be coming up against like just an issue with those topics I just mentioned, but through another person. Um, on August 9th, so embedded in that full moon is that opposition, but there will be a full moon in Aquarius at 16 degrees at 3:55 a.m. Eastern time. This is the second decan of Aquarius, which is ruled by the Six of Swords, which is ruled by Mercury. And Aquarius is your fifth house of romance, pleasure, creativity, children, if you have them. This is a lovely house. It's in a trine to you. And actually, most of August, you will have a grand air trine. So you'll have Mars and Libra in your first, you'll have Pluto and Aquarius in your fifth, and the moon there, that full moon. And then you'll have Uranus and Gemini in your ninth. Now, these are the Dharma houses. Dharma in Vedic astrology means purpose. So fifth house is your passions, your desires. What is it that gets you up in the morning? Like you literally toss your covers over and you're like, I'm so excited to do this. And then ninth, the house of God. What is it that's like divinely calling to you? I think this full moon is a very important moment for you to grapple with that. Pleasure, joy, fun. Have you been incorporating that into your life? Are you living the life of your dreams? Are you following your passions? And as a daughter of immigrants, passions and joy were seen as frivolous things, but I've had to sort of reclaim those things as I became an adult because they are breadcrumbs to our purpose. So Mercury, this being a Mercury ruled deacon, this could be like um, thinking of ways in which you want to get out of your current situation. How do you envision your life? How do you want it to look like? What do you want to feel? All of these things, right? Now, there was a new moon in Aquarius at 9 degrees on January 29th. This was when Saturn was still in the sign of Pisces. So you might have like set intentions at that time, and this is just a fruition of those intentions. Um, because this full moon is ruled by Saturn in your seventh house of one-on-one partnerships, I'm thinking like some of the Libra risings might have intended to call in a partnership, since the fifth house is romance and dating, um, or children. You might have wanted children, or a creative project, something that you're trying to birth into this world might come into fruition on this full moon in Aquarius. On August 11th, Mercury goes direct at 4 degrees of Leo. So Gemini and Virgo, your Gemini and Virgo houses, which your Gemini house is the ninth house, Virgo is your 12th house. Those topics of those houses will you probably have been thinking about, reflecting on as Mercury was retrograde in your 11th house. Again, the 11th house is your friends, groups, community. You might have thought of teaching, possibly, because the ninth house also is a teaching place. You might have decided you wanted to go back to school to learn more. You might have also decided to write a book, possibly, since the ninth house is the publishing house as well. So now that Mercury is direct, you can put some of those action steps in to fruition, essentially. On August 12th, this is what I was referring to at the beginning. Venus in Cancer will conjunct Jupiter in Cancer at 14 degrees. If you're a Libra rising with your midheaven in Cancer in and around 14 degrees, this is such a career glow up. Like your chart ruler, which is a benefic, with Jupiter, which is exalted in Cancer, this is like, I would use this day to like launch something. If you have an offering, if you want to start like your social media presence or YouTube or Substack, whatever it is, like launch it on this day because it's very, very lucky. It's very auspicious. And if your midheaven is anywhere near that, this is something that you will be known for. This is something that will grow over time. On August 22nd, the sun will ingress into Virgo, and now you're in the 12th house year, the 12th house, the 12th house season. And yeah, this is about refinement, right? The South Node is moving through here. This is about grappling with some self-sabotaging behaviors and thoughts. Perfectionism is a tool of white supremacy. It's colonial. Self-judgment, thinking that you have to be perfect to show up. All of these things are Virgo coded. And so when you're going through a 12th house season, this is about releasing some of those self-limiting behaviors and self-sabotaging thoughts. The very next day, you'll have a new moon in Virgo at 0 degrees at 2:06 a.m. Eastern time. This is not an eclipse. So it's interesting because we have two new moons back to back. A month from now, September 21st, there will be a solar eclipse at 29 degrees of Virgo. So there's like these seeds that are being planted in your 12th house. The 12th house is the house of the unknown. It's a cadent house. It's like your relationship to the unknown realms. Okay. Like the 12th house is about believing versus seeing. The 12th house is also all those things in our life that we don't necessarily see, right? They are places like libraries and prisons and ashrams and retreat centers, places that are tucked away. So I don't know. Maybe you feel inclined to speak up for marginalized communities or people who are, in the you might feel called to speak on behalf of the prison industrial complex and how it's just modern day slavery. You might feel called to speak up for marginalized people and people of the global majority. There might be something that's calling to your heart in terms of activism. I mean, like Libra risings, Libra placements, I think of justice. I think of, balancing the scales and having all of that Aries action in your seventh house and just, emboldening you to show up in a different way. I think this is a great seeding moment with these Virgo new moons. So this is the first decan of Virgo, which is the Eight of Pentacles. This is about commitment and craftsmanship. It's about mastering something. Um, and I did think it was interesting that embedded in this new moon, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, all the outer planets are at 1 degree, which according to Nikola Stajanovich's degree theory, that's the Aries degree ruled by Mars. These placements are about expressing your personal goals and moving your vision forward. So, like I mentioned, Uranus is in your ninth. This is the house of God. You might also feel called to study something that you just all of a sudden felt called, like astrology, right? That's ninth house topic, spirituality. You might all of a sudden be like, wait, I don't believe that I want to be in the Christian church anymore. And I believe in more of like an interfaith, interspiritual, faith-based, faith, inner spiritual, interfaith-based system. And then Uranus will trine to Pluto and Aquarius in your fifth house. Okay, that's another Dharma house. And they're both sextile to Saturn and Neptune in your seventh house. So there's something you're creating here. There's something that you're bringing out based on your wisdom and something that you've studied, and really bringing it to the forefront of your offering, whatever that is. On August 25th, like I was alluding to, Venus will enter Leo. And this is such a wonderful transit for you because, again, this is the 11th house. This is your chart ruler. This is the time to be seen, like mingle, meet people, network. I know network is so like corporate, but like building relationships is something that as a Libra rising is part of your destiny. It's part of your beingness here on earth, cultivating relationships, understanding people, meeting people where they're at, and also aligning yourself to people who have shared values, right, and morals, and working well with other people. I think that is the ultimate gift of a Libra placement. So that is your August forecast. I'm so grateful for your time and attention and for your support. I will see you next month. Bye.